It's good to see you all. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome, honey. Namaste. All right, so here we gather again. Tuesday night satsang, Tuesday day satsang, depends where you are. So I'm finding it hard for myself to ground today. It was very interesting how I came out of samadhi this morning and I was just blasted with energy and my whole body started shaking, which is unusual for me. So it's not bad, it's benign, but it's very, very unsettling. So I am in an unsettled state, kind of like a bottle of soda that's been shaken. So I don't know what's going to come. Just fair warning. Disclaimer as we begin. But I wanted to talk today, it took me a while to organize this part, but about the power of intent. It's something we forget about because in order to actually know intent is there, we have to be in a certain state of consciousness, in the category of faith. So intent, I guess the translation would be a willingness. A willingness to recognize your purpose. So in my life, in my experience, often I don't know my intent except to the current purpose I'm living. And then at times, depending upon how things unfold, it becomes clear that something other is happening than my conscious purpose, that there is something else coming forward. What I've recognized in my spiritual life is that the greatest power I carry is the power of intent. And intent, I'm using this word intent, not perhaps precisely, because it sounds like purpose or desire. But an intent is a willingness to go beyond what you know. A willingness to take a leap outside of the frame of what your experience or your knowledge is to discover something not yet known. I believe that more than even sacrifice, intent evokes the Brahman. Now, in fact, the nature of that evocation is not going to be clear to you because it's working in a domain outside of our normal attention. But it sets in motion Prakriti, creation. Creation responds to our intent because the intent comes from the Supreme in us. The part of us that's willing to not just sacrifice, but to leap outside of our boundary, brings forward a manifesting principle, ability to bring into existence a new structure that is other than your own creation. And it is a showing. It will open up a doorway to showings that you didn't know to see before. Because intent organizes our attention, if we know it or not, if it's true, if it's sincere, if it's taken from the place I call faith. Now, of course, faith can't exist without grace. They're kind of simultaneous events. Grace and faith occur together. The more grace, the more faith, the more faith, the more grace. So the nature of that which would intend is already something of a possibility that's there in us but not yet actualized, has not yet come into our lives, has not yet become clear to our conscious mind, to our intelligence. For me, in the course of my life, I probably have always lived beyond my pay grade. I have always leaped beyond what it was that I was capable of. There was something in me that could wing it. Fake it till you make it. It's an entrepreneurial cowboy quality here, especially in America. Not as bound by conformist, idealisms. It is, therefore, I was always very inventive and resourceful, but also threw me into a process that required that I step up to what I cast myself towards. So for me, as I look back on it, I could see it was both curiosity and desire. A desire to live, a desire to explore, a desire to find out. But almost every stage of my life was a leaping beyond what I knew before. I can imagine when I first drove a car. Well, I can't say it was the first time. My grandfather took me driving on the side streets and taught me how to steer and shift. It was when I was 12 years old. Me and a friend of mine stole my sister's little Austin Healey Sprite one night, about 2 a.m. I'm 12 years old. I had never driven the car before. My friend had a car like that. So we went tooling around, in the foothills of the East Bay until the car, it was my time to drive. And I'm late at night, we got the street lights. I'm trying to figure out the gearing, and then a police car pulls up next to us and say, "Hello, what are you doing?" So sometimes you leap and you learn, right? I found out consequences. But there was something in me that was willing. And where did the willingness come from, right? Well, a crazy, stupid kid, but, it was also a zest to explore, a zest for life, to discover, to experience. And I got in trouble. My father, it was almost my 12th birthday, so it was December. And he did his usual wax. But then he said, "I had bought you a Model A Ford for you to work on for your birthday. And now I'm not going to give it to you." So that was like, I really wanted to figure out cars. So the nature of that part of life, it was stupid, but it also is a sign of what I'm speaking of, a willingness to go beyond the boundary of what we know. My experience is when people don't do that, they live in a cage of their undeveloped parts, what they should do, what you must do in order to be accepted by your parents or your community. So we become conformists, we become bound by what others think of us or what others are requiring of us, and we lose something of that discovery and that freedom. So I recognize this is the reality, this is how it is. For me, the spiritual path was simply a continuation of the same thing. Something extraordinarily came, and then what happened is it happened on its own. So at the age of 50, the intent of my life became, I woke up to the intent of my life. At that point, the universe opened up, and it took over the show. So my life was sadhana. Those experiences and the challenges and the expansion and the risks and the growth that occurred prepared me to understand, recognize the power of an intent. So right now, you're all living an intent. Maybe it was there when you came and you were born. Maybe it was something that came from your suffering, an intent to come out of suffering. Maybe it was a zest for life, the willingness to explore, to discover things you hadn't done before. But all those are expressions of something trying to manifest itself in you, and that itself is a supreme being that wants to be in this world. It wants to know itself, and it can only do that as us. We are the joyous, free, innocent, true expression of that divine principle. When we drop the shrouds of our shame and our guilt and being right and doing it perfect and all these other things, you'll discover this quality of yourself. And this is the one that carries the intent. This is the one that brings it into our lives. This is the one that makes it exploring, discovering, traveling, discovering new things, proof of the possibility of being you in existence, expanding beyond its boundary. So we don't want to lose this on the spiritual path. We want to know and recognize that this too is an opportunity to be engaged in an adventure, maybe not so much outwardly, but inwardly, in bringing something into existence that's still not clear for us, that's still not evidenced in a way our minds and our habit of our personality can recognize. So this power becomes even more enhanced when we link up with a spiritual teacher. Because the quality that I bring is I have an intent for each of you. I carry the intent that you may unconsciously be carrying to manifest that divine possibility that you are. Boy, this is true. So my intent enhances your intent. It strengthens your faith and grace. It strengthens your ability to recognize the opportunity of yourself in existence, not only as a human being, but as a spiritual being. So I had someone who I gave some instructions to, and they didn't like it. And I recognized they're not able to see or access the intent that had them come to me. If they were, they would have had more recognition that this is just a reaction. And that is what veils someone from being able to take advantage of the opportunity of discovering the truth of what they are as the Supreme Being coming into existence as them. I know that if someone did what I said, this person, I suggested they go into the world. They not go more spirit, go more and more matter. Get practical, manage your life. And that person responded that this is what they were looking for, and they wanted something else, and was very upset and with that process, or degree of upset, because they wanted something and they were not being allowed to have it. But if they take action, any small action, because I've not let go of my intent for that person, aligned with what I guided them to do, they will discover that the universe is showing them the way to that becoming real. The guidance of the true teacher is an accelerant path to manifesting the very intent that brought you to a teacher in the first place. It empowers, it strengthens the current of that intent, taking you beyond yourself to manifest qualities and to be in existence in ways that you had not been able to know was possible before. It's an unspeakable miracle. The levels, when you start living aligned with the intent, the true intent, not the ones that you've taken on to please your parents or your teachers or the authorities in your life, but the one that has lived you, where when it came or when it was accessible or when there were actions you would take brought you joy, brought you happiness, brought you aliveness. When you can be able to join with that which is calling you, with that which is seeking, it's a very quick union that will follow. It's when the grace above and the aspiration below come together It is cause for celebration. The end of the Gita, with Krishna and Arjuna, there will only be glory, success, and joy. It is inevitable that when we can align with that which is the source of all intent in another, we empower our ability to know that for ourselves. When we can actually do so, then we can go beyond what we couldn't go beyond before. We won't get overtaken as totally as we would be overtaken before. We'll be able to come out of those periods where life overtakes us and see, okay, another step in the movement of my intent to manifest itself. Life becomes the evidence. Your own experience becomes the evidence. Your own modified capacity to know becomes the evidence. So follow any guidance that may come from someone like me. If you follow it, it'll take you beyond yourself. If you don't follow it or follow it partially, there will be some benefit. But you do your best, and it'll take over the rest. So the power of intent is to bring something miraculous into existence that is currently not seen, not accessed, not known. Because existence is already miraculous. The problem isn't existence. It's not the people you interact with. It's not other people. It's not your circumstances. No matter what's going on politically, socially, around you, with New Dharma, whatever, these are just things happening. They'll come and go forever, or as long as they're people. This that matters is what you are. And the life that is here is for you to live and to recognize it. So take the actions beyond yourself. Follow the directions when they come. Keep the structure. As I say at New Dharma, we give structure for the growing spiritual soul so it can go upward instead of sideways or back down. The structure has to do with the very simple principles of some degree of restraint and self-mastery, some willingness to question your own opinions and beliefs and ideas, some ability to step back from your emotional nature, some capacity to pull back from the pool of the dark nectar and the addictions of the pleasures of life to distract yourself. Without that yoga, without some organization of your outer life, nothing actually lasting can come to you. It'll always go this way or that way. You have to become focused. You have to become organized. If you've become organized in the course of your lived life, then the path becomes, the spiritual path becomes easier, because it's ultimately about a state of continuous consecration and organizing of your intention, of your attention for the accessible purpose that you're living. The consistency in your ability to do that is the structure that you have to build and be supported to build within your own relationship with your personality, with the world around you, and your old strategies of living. If you have that much, then this grace, this force, this structure will bring you access to the miracle, to the unspeakable reality that is already here now. I have a pair of pajamas. Someone gave them to me when last time I was in India. I think it was like 2010 or 2011. That I've been wearing ever since. You've got something good, why get rid of it? Anyway, it has a tie string on it, right? Drawstring. So every time I go to the bathroom, I have to pull it open, and sometimes I really have to go to the bathroom and I pull it up and it knots up. Ever had that happen? Knot's up, and I'm there, and I'm stuck with this knot and this drive to go to the bathroom, right? So it happened yesterday, I think. And I was there in the dilemma of this knot in a way I haven't been before. Oh my God. So I had to pull back, and I said, okay, what got tied in where it couldn't? So I had to take the knot up, couldn't only take it up so far, and I had to find the one out of the 4 different strings, so it seemed, that was the key. And I noticed that if I stayed patient and attentive, I could do it. And I did it relatively quickly. And I said, oh, that's what life is about. Finding the knot and untangling it. So it was a recognition in that moment of how much we are inclined to get addicted to our knots, our nose, and not recognizing that they're there to be known, to be untangled, and to pull them apart so that the string can be free again. So, I'm noticing this in lots of it in my life because now I've entered into the world much more than usual. So now I can see things that I couldn't see before. I'm much more focused. And everything is a knot. You can't fix something here and hope that everything else will line up. Then you fix something here, and then there's something else to be fixed. And then you fix that, and then there's something else to be fixed. And I said, oh, that's life. That's the charm, is untangling the knots. It is fascinating. And, I'm working with these model airplanes, and so many things can go wrong in electronics and these little things. So the whole time is not finding and not untying to figure out how does it work and how to take something that's broken and fix it. And I love it. I'm a knot untyer. I eat knots. I enjoy knots. That's probably why I enjoy all of you so much. There's something that gets released and something in the discovery of how something works in order for it to work better. And the idea of that, I think, is the true kind of drive that makes people compulsive, obsessive. Obsessive. I have a little bit of that I'm addictive, a little bit of addictive, I have a little bit of every single psychological disease, I'm sure. But the principle of compulsive obsessive, it served me. It served. Be an architect. You better be compulsive obsessive, or be a doctor. You better be a compulsive obsessive. So the principle of this is a thing of a nature. But I tell you, it is one way that we can come into existence at the practical level of untying your pajamas right when you need to. The practical level of coming into life, even though it seems like it's all a no. This is the discovery and the opportunity that comes when you're willing to live with an intent different than the one we're habituated to, where we're comfortable, where we feel secure, where we have what we need, where we don't have to feel insecure or threatened, and rather be on the boundary of that, willing to expand it according to our own capacity to go beyond those comfort zones, those familiar things that we cherish and hold on to and are attached to and invested in. Just we were invested in the very things that obscure us from the miracle of our own manifestation. That also. For me, it's a discovery. A continuous recognition that I do not yet know. That there's more to know. And I don't look up there to know, because that's hammering on me all the time. I look down here to know. What does it mean to be a person? What does it mean to be in the role I am now? What does it mean to be in relationship with you? What does it mean for you to be in relationship with me? And vice versa. this untangling that which is hidden, untangling that which is still knotted up, that's still obscured in me and in you, and of course with you, with each other. If you work with other people and they're with you, something starts unraveling just because you're with them. You get to be a birthing of that freedom that comes out of that knotted thing in them that they didn't know how to be with or recognize. Many people are uplifted just to be able to identify the knot, the no, the problem, to be able to language it, to identify it. Oh, okay, that's it. That was my parent. That was my past. And then they're empowered to do their own unknotting of the things that have separated you. And it's curious how it happens. Once you take a knot and you untangle it, there's space. There's a release. There's a moving into presence. And with presence, there's always this sense of natural safety, natural okayness, natural ease. Because that's our true nature. That is what it's meant to be in the fullness of discovering and expanding into the miracle of existence. Creating that space, that not. It's not to say yes to the no so much as to know the no. If you can know the no very quickly, the no becomes a yes. I love that picture of Natalie. Natalie is our one formal staff person. See that girl with the red carnation and white carnation on her head? She's one of my favorite people. There's a lot of my favorite people. I haven't seen some of you for a while. It's really good to see you. All right. So let's see what else is there. You have anything to bring to this?
You're looking at me? Don't. Keep it on him.
All right. I actually made some notes.
There you go.
Imagine we are free, we are pure beings, free. Imagine life without sin, guilt, shame. Thus, imagine life without suffering as the defining characteristic of life, but rather joy and discovery and aliveness, because that's our birthright. That's actually the truth. To know our own innocence and not be defeated by all these habits of blame and guilt and accusation and doubt and all these brings us into existence curiosity and willingness, which is already evidence of grace. Imagine your only true role is to play your part and learn. Because you can take any part. You can be a butcher, you can be a car mechanic, you can be a great spiritual teacher, and use it not as an end, not as a way of reinforcing what you've come to, but as a station to continue to explore what's next. Imagine learning is spiritual preparation. The more we expand, the more we learn, the more no's we meet and untangle, the more we prepare ourselves for discovering the truth that we already are. Thus, we learn our limitations, our mistakes. We learn from our limitations, our mistakes, and failures. No, shit. You learn from your success, then you're going to try to repeat the success, but success is a random number of factors Gita says at least 5 different factors, including destiny, and you have no fucking control over destiny. So success is not the thing. Success is a symptom of something coming into existence. And it will always be only a success until failure is supposed to come. It'll only be fame until defamation is supposed to come. This is the gunas. Nothing, everything comes and falls. But the learning, the exploring, the discovery is beyond the gunas. And of course, we do it better when we're in sattva rather than tamas or rajas, but that process of becoming more sattva is the willingness to keep coming into existence, playing our part, and learning the lessons of that life, expanding to the level of our incompetency. You could say that's what's happened to me. I've been expanded to the level of my incompetency. I'm now perfectly incompetent. Maybe not in the spiritual dimension, because it works anyway, but in some ways, yeah, I couldn't keep up with it all. It's hard to keep up with this kind of thing. Way outside of my identity or organization of my personality. But it's a wonder to be on the edge like I am. Every day carries a focus, an intensity. It's like truly alive, like you'd be alive just before the automobile crash. You know, it's just a really coming forward in the presence of the peril and the predicament of humankind and the consequences that are here. But to be in the attitude of discovery, of learning, of growing beyond the boundary, means I'm a co-creator in existence. I'm not the victim. Therefore, there is this discovery of what it is to be shamed, to be diminished. I mean, I didn't even know these things, to experience betrayal, to experience other people's betrayal, to see the consequences wave through humanity, where people say lies or distortions or half-truths, and all kinds of people get affected and caught up into this swirl. It's just like, wow, yoga maya on steroids. It's like, it is something, only human beings can do this. Here in Rancho Valley, we have deer having to cross from the foothills to get to the lake. And they come up to the fence right where the traffic cars go back and forth on East Lake Boulevard, and then just wait to get across, because all they want to do is drink while we're doing all our other things besides just driving our car while we're driving our cars. And so we all stop when the deers actually do cross, but we don't stop until they jump the fence. And then Pakriti stops. Most of the time. I did see one who didn't have the best timing, but basically we stop and the deers cross, and then a whole herd of them. I saw a herd of like 40 horses crossing from the back hills, waiting to go across to the lake. They're so simple. They're in the immediacy. They're playing their role. They're coming across human beings and they're bewildered, but they will leap too. Maybe there's a peril. And maybe they will get to their water. You notice the older ones, they're smarter. Well, they wait until there's no cars. It's the younger ones that leap to their peril. So we get better at this the more we do it. The more we grow, the more we are willing to expand out of the boundaries. You know, I've got this excuse. I'm 74 years old now, or will be soon. So I'm coming up with these boundaries about old age. I'm saying, what? What do I need that for? I don't need that. I just have to be willing. I'll live as long as needed. I don't want to go anyplace else. I want to be in this world. This engagement is more real in this sense, in the sense of my embodiment, than all the domains that are hammering on me all the time. Those are always there. Here is so interesting. this is the place to be. Your life is the most important thing you have to live. This is the rarest of opportunities. Once you discover the heavens, then you can come into life more fully. Yes, you can become freer from the things that limited you before, and your knots dissolve, and so you don't even have to dismantle them because you can expand and expand into that. But ultimately, it comes down to how you live as a person in your life. Coming to cause is the foundation of my teaching. To be able to discover that you are the cause of your own experience, this is the most important discovery there is. If you could find that, then from that, everything unfolds. Every knot will be shown. You will be able to discover that they're knots existing and that you can then meet them and turn them into a knot. There's such a word. In the process, we grow, becoming more capable to live life effectively and fully. We become the creators of our life. We come to cause. I guess that's it for today, kids. So that's there. I think what we can do is, I don't get to do this much in this Tuesday program, but let's just sit together and take the rest of the time and be with ourselves. You know, meditation, sitting silent and still, becoming quiet, it's really where we begin to tap into that greater possibility that we are. So, all my talking opens some space, but this would be this way to take advantage of the space, to open up and be willing to receive what it is that's coming through. I can feel it coming through. And take it into yourself in a quality of quiet presence, quiet willingness, surrender. Be aware of your body. Be aware of your breath. Remember your connection to Mother Earth. You are her child. Without her, you would not have this body. You owe her your life. Remembering her, remembering your connection with her, is the way you honor the rareness of your own existence. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat Shree. All glory to the Supreme. May truth, love, and grace flow in and through all of you. Namaste.